All right, my friends, welcome to episode number 204 of Prof and Dev Play Games. I'm Professor Larry at Prof Plays Games on Twitter, and over there, finally, he has returned from the wild, Anthony the Dev at Summerspeak. How the hell are you?
I am so excited to be back. This week I've been so exhausted. I needed a vacation from my vacation. 2 weeks of camping is a bit intense with 2 kids, but it's a lot. You don't realize just how exhausted you are until you get home. And then you realize, holy shit, I just want to sleep. And no one bug me about anything. And I want to eat good food. I want to sleep in my bed. And I want to play a lot of Fire Emblem.
Did your wife feel the same way about the coming home, just feeling exhausted?
She's still recovering. But yeah, she felt it was good to cook. Honestly, and it's not just camping. I feel this way about most vacations I have. If I've taken like a 2-week vacation, about day 12, kind of getting ready to be home.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's bad. I'm still having a great time. It's just like, man, I miss my home. I miss my things.
Right.
And like my space and what I've been in. So not to say this is bad. So I don't care. The podcast people listening can know I went to Yellowstone for 2 weeks and Grand Teton. National parks. Never been to them before, and they are amazing.
Oh, wow.
It is truly like where I'm like, oh, everyone talks about going to Yellowstone. Yellowstone is cool. Yeah, it really is. And pictures don't really do it complete justice. The geyser region with like Old Faithful and all the hydrothermal features is, you're like, oh, cool. You're going to see cool thing. No, it's incredible. Like stuff I've never seen in my life. And I probably will never see again unless I go back there, because that's where they are in the world. And it's just geysers and boiling pools of water. It's like an alien landscape. It's so weird.
I was reading the book, The Rise and Fall of Dinosaurs, and there's a whole section talking about plate tectonics and the shifting something under the earth that's just like, it's solid, but it's like liquid and it's just superheated, and that he's saying that this is what explains Yellowstone, basically, and all that, the thermal area.
It's a super volcano.
Yeah.
Like, it just, the crust is thinner there, and there's magma closer to the surface. And it's heating all this water and stuff in the soil, and it comes up in geysers and these pools, or fumaroles, and all sorts of other things. So as a person who loves nerds out on geology and things like that at times, this was amazing.
Yeah. Our national parks are amazing. Like,
they are.
I mean, my favorite's Yosemite, but every time I go to a new one, I'm just like, how? Like when I went through Utah, going to like Bryce and Zion.
Utah is
Arches.
Arches is amazing.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Arches. Arches is probably one of the most dramatically different things that I've ever seen. Yellowstone is very cool, but Arches, there's just something special about Arches because it's such a different landscape that I'm used to. And honestly, probably you too growing up. Like, oh yeah, absolutely. It is
totally different.
Dramatically different. Yellowstone isn't as dramatically different. It's still forest. It's scrawny little trees, but it's still more of a forest. And your typical canyons and forest kind of look to it. So it wasn't like, oh, when we're going to Yellowstone, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We're in a new place. It wasn't until seeing certain features of it that made it stand out. And I get why it's like, it's the first national park. Yeah.
Was it the first one?
No, I don't. Actually, it might not have been the first one.
I have to look that up for trivia.
We should look it up. When it's 18 something. Yeah, 1874. It might be the first one. It actually, I think it's where the idea of the national park thing came. Yeah, it was stayed by a campground, and there was a whole plaque to it, and this amazing view down this valley where the group of men that decided to do the national parks were sitting there and were like, we don't feel like this should be privately owned by anybody.
Right.
Like that idea was there, and they're like, no, we need to make a national parks system. Like we need to preserve this stuff and not let it be exploited. And so, the national parks are amazing, and if my wife gets her way, we're going to see every single one of them.
And her thing is specifically not like the monuments or just like the park.
National parks.
Right? Okay.
And there's a new one. The latest one was in 2013.
Right. That was the last one.
Pinnacles. It was Pinnacles in California.
I'm thinking of a monument that's going up in DC for World War I. That's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Pinnacles was the last one?
Yep.
Okay.
which is outside of Monterey, really.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've been to Pinnacles.
Yeah, so Obama promoted it to a national park.
Nice.
Or
Thanks,
I assume
Obama.
he signed off on it. I mean, I'm sure it was his.
During that time frame.
I assume the president has to sign off on that stuff.
Well, considering the current president signing off on getting rid of some national park land, yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Or trying to.
So, yeah, trying to at least. Before we get into our episode tonight, I do want to give a thanks, shout out to Brad, to Ted, to my friend Bill, and my friend Casey for coming on the podcast the last couple of weeks and sharing their knowledge with us. So thanks to them. Also another shout out to my friend Brad. Him and I went to a concert last night and we were feeling pretty rough today, so I hope he's doing well. And this episode, since the listeners have heard me talk so much the last few weeks, we're going to turn it over to Anthony because this is going to be the Fire Emblem podcast. I think you rolled credits on one storyline, right? I rolled
credits on Black Eagle storyline last night.
All right. So we want to hear all about it, everything you like about it.
All right.
What's, I put 6 hours in, so I'll chime in here or there. And then let's dig into it. Fire Emblem.
Right.
Great game.
This I will put right now is my game of the year so far. I have not been able to put it down, which is weird because I got it. The story of getting this, because I got it on my vacation. I digitally downloaded it before I left, preloaded it. I got on Friday of its release. Family and everything was at Old Faithful. There was one spot I found. There was crappy cell service at Old Faithful, but there was one spot I found just to the left of the front entrance to the visitor center where my phone would get a LTE signal. And I was able to tether my Switch to my phone with one bar, and it still took it like 2 minutes to unlock to get the little file. The speed was terrible, but it unlocked, and I got Fire Emblem.
Oh my God, that's
midday
amazing.
Friday of when it came out. And then my Switch went back into my bag, and I didn't get to play until I was in my tent at night. And thumbs up for car chargers and battery packs.
Okay, so you're using the battery pack too with it? Because I heard that
I actually didn't need to use the battery pack that much. I'm not playing a ton at night in the tent. A couple hours, which my battery would last about 2.5 hours.
That's what I was going to ask. I heard that Fire Emblem Three Houses kills the battery, 2.5 hours. Yeah, okay.
About 2.5 hours. Breath of the Wild, similar. I would typically, but time everyone was in bed, it was already 9 o'clock at night usually, and we're exhausted because we've been hiking and exploring all day.
Right.
But everyone would go to bed. I would just lay in my sleeping bag, and I would play Fire Emblems for between an hour to 2 hours. And then pass out. And then during the day, when we're driving around, I would just put it in the glove center console area, plugged in, and just charge my Switch while we're driving.
That's awesome.
Which was back to 100% by that night. So this is how I experienced Fire Emblem for the first, effectively, week and a half of its existence.
That's going to be a pretty special gaming memory. That's such a unique experience.
And I have no internet. Nothing. I have no clue how people are feeling about the game. I have no clue about any kind of information on what I should be doing in the game. Right. I don't know the classes. I don't know. I have no info. I'm just like, well, game, tell me what you got. I'm just going to go. We're doing this. And I did. And I would play, pretty much just at night. I got a few times whenever it was just exhausted during the day where other people would be like, the rest of the family, like, oh, we want to go do this hike. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be out in the sun right now. So I'd sit in the car, play Fire Emblem. And then my wife did the same thing in time where she would be just like, I need a break. So.
Yeah, of course.
So, we were able to get a break. So, but effectively that I played through pretty much, that's the only game I played for the past, when did it come out? 2 weeks ago from Friday?
26th. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only game I've been playing. I don't want to spoil too much for anybody. That's the thing. I don't want to talk too much because the only thing spoiled to me, and this is a spoiler because it was on Treehouse and there's a time skip in the game.
Right. Yep.
And I didn't know the context of the time skip though. And so that's great if you don't know it. It's
I don't know. I just know there is one.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
It's really cool. And it shows the quality of the production that went into this game because that time skip happens, all the characters get new models.
Oh, what? Oh, okay.
All
Even
of them.
Just a 5-year gap.
They all look different.
Mm.
All of them. And they have a completely different, it's shocking. They have new portraits on all their 2D portraits. They have a completely new 3D models. The maps get reworked a bit. The monastery does in a bit. When you're around it, it's shocking. The one thing this game, by beating it, the amount of content is immense. Like, jaw-dropping amount of content, and then quality of that content.
Well, it's crazy, too, because the amount of content that you experienced on just one path, and there are 2 other paths you can take.
Yeah, and that's where I would also...
Or 2.5 or whatever. So.
Yeah, there's almost a 4th house in there.
Right.
Which is weird, and I was completely not expecting that, and I'm sorry that was spoiled for you. Because...
Oh, no, it's fine.
Holy
I'm not
crap,
playing.
was that an unexpected choice?
Yeah. Well, and I don't know. I don't know the context for that choice. Just like the 5-year skip, I just know that there was like basically a 4th thing, a 4th.
It's before the 5-year skip
path, right? But I knew that there was another path in the Black Eagles, and that's still all I know about it. So
and I'm curious how that. Oh, it's so weird.
If you made the other choice, how it would have gone?
Yeah, I have a save at that point, so if I wanted to choose the other way, I could choose the other way and see how that plays out.
Right.
Yeah, I made sure to save at that point.
How many people were you able to recruit into your house before the skip?
See, this is the thing for me, and this is where I was playing without incredible knowledge. I didn't really focus on recruiting other people. I recruited 3 extra. But you can recruit, as far as I can tell, you could recruit as many as you can either get the requirements for or get them up to B support.
Uh-huh.
If they're B support, they will offer to join your house.
Okay.
But I know some of them, because of my choice in the Black Eagle thing, even if I had recruited them, they would leave based on the choice I made at that Black Eagle decision point.
Oh, that makes sense. That just makes it more real too.
Oh God, yes.
Are you playing classic mode, by the way, or are you
classic?
Nice.
Classic is fantastic.
Did you lose anyone?
No, I mean you have Divine Pulse. The time there should be no reason ever to lose anybody. Okay. Unless you really want to, or because I mean, by the time I was at the end of the game, I had 14 Divine Pulses to use.
For one match?
Yeah.
Oh God, then
because you can get more. You can get more. Right. So it wasn't a thing where I felt like the only reason I even had someone die, I was playing normal, was when I made a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
Where it was like, oh, I really shouldn't have moved that person there. Let's just step back 2 moves.
Yeah.
Or to my turn and do that turn again.
It's so nice because I love playing on classic mode, but I have to hard reset every time I lose someone because I'm not really playing on classic mode.
You only have to reset maybe a couple minutes max.
Yeah, that's good.
And really, if you wanted to, you could reset all the way back to the beginning of the match if you really wanted to. Like it keeps track of everything. And so that's been good. And it's also allowed, I've seen from the design side, they can have more maps and more things where sudden things happen during a mission, enemies and reinforcements appear, and while you're like, shit, I shouldn't, my guys are right there, that's a bad place for them now, you can be like, let's rewind time and let me play that turn over again to end my guys in a different place, and it fits in thematically to the story.
Interesting.
I don't know, you played that where it taught you why you can turn back time. It just feels right. You're like, oh, yeah, because I have this ability, I'm supposed to use it to avoid situations like this.
Right. It also fits into like being like a master tactician. Like you have like foresight in a way.
Yes. So that part has felt great. So yeah, I played it on normal classic. Yeah,
that's what I'm doing too.
I hit the end. Took me 51 hours.
Dang.
On my playthrough.
For one path. That's crazy.
And I wasn't like, I got to the end. I was like, going into the last chunk as it was coming was because I hadn't really optimized. I couldn't have all my characters with the classes I wanted them to be because I hadn't trained them properly. Yeah. Basically, I like, oh crap, I want to be this master class. I didn't give that person enough writing and I can't get their writing up in time to pass the certification. Which is fine. I'm still able to beat it and everything. But I immediately beat it, saved my stuff. This morning, woke up, started New Game Plus.
Is that before or after you started your spreadsheet?
That's part of starting New Game Plus, was me. I'm like, okay, I did the Black Eagles. I want to do another one. So I chose the Golden Deer. And I was like, okay, give me all the list of this is where I now have a spreadsheet. And I was like, had all the characters for that house. And I was like, okay, here's all their starting classes. Here's my class progression that I want to take them through, going, so I can make sure that I get them to where I want them. And then also have a balanced party. That was also a big thing, is balance between, it's Fire Emblem. It still helps to be balanced between, your axes, lances, and swords. How many bows you have, how many flying to cavalry to foot soldiers you have, who's a tank, who's not. Like, this all matters in the game. And then I wanted to play it on hard. So I am on hard, and I just started the 3rd month on hard. So
what drew you to the yellow deer?
I hate the blue guys. Dimitri's an asshole.
Oh man.
I'm never ever going to be okay with Dimitri.
I actually decided to choose the blue lions because of him. Like, one throwaway line that he had that like hinted to some sort of troubled childhood, and I was like, yeah.
They all have troubled childhoods. Edelgard has really super troubled childhood too. Like, holy shit, troubled. There's a lot of broken people in this game. A lot of broken people.
Well, it just makes for compelling stories, I think.
Oh yeah, and that's actually one of the great things. Like, this game shifts between like humorous and flippant to like deadly serious and dark, on a dime, depending on which characters you're interacting with, and then which of, like, you're not interacting with them, but the supports between all the characters. Right. And that goes back to content on there is support interactions, at least 2, between every character. Not in your house, every character. And it's all voice acted.
And does the quality maintain? Because it's awesome right now.
Yes. It gets better, honestly. Wow. I feel like the supports, as they get up to like B and A support, the interactions get so much more compelling.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's as you're getting to know these people and they're opening up, and you're like, holy crap. And then you get a 5-year jump, and then you're like, oh my God, who are these people again? They've had 5 years. Let's figure this out and talk to all of them again and see how they've changed and what's happened. Like, the game, it's just insane. I cannot believe the amount of stuff that's in this game.
I can't believe how much is there that's beyond what's been in Fire Emblem before. Like, there are pieces, obviously the support stuff, and there's the fighting, but the whole level of teaching your students, like, as that's the mechanic for leveling them up and teaching the skills and stuff, is different and really interesting. But then they just blown everything out, like the support conversations, that all the monastery, first person running around or third person or whatever. It's like they took the best parts of Persona, took some ideas from like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones, and then put it on top of their improved Fire Emblem stuff. Yeah. It's crazy. How do you, having gotten through the game, do you find comparisons between it and Persona 5 in terms of the story?
Not the story, but the time management. It's like a light Persona. Yeah, it's not as granular. Clearly, like, you've even seen that. Like, the months are more.
They're streamlined.
Structured. I mean, Persona's every day. And this one's like, okay, sometimes events happen on days. You have Sundays where you can do one thing. You explore, go to seminars, go to battle, or rest. And then sometimes you have other miscellaneous things thrown in, but it's rare. You have to pick and choose your time pretty carefully. The other key thing when playing was I was shocked at the amount of diversity that those months had. So I would say, I think it's the first 3 are like, the first month is pretty focused. I think that's just doing you get like one simple week, and then you do the Battle of the Three Houses, the mock battle. The second month, you have to deal with the bandits.
Yep.
And you start getting more, but you don't get everything. Third month, you get everything. Third month has... actually, it doesn't have everything still. You have a lot more stuff. There's a couple interactions with students you don't have yet. Right. You can't do tea time. And tea time is amazing. Tea time rules.
I've seen so many memes about
tea time.
I haven't done it yet.
Perfect tea time. It's so good. God, what is this game? It's just like a stupid, like, talk to a person in a first person having tea with like frilly, flowery borders. It's hilarious.
I mean, it's the kind of game. I'm
pretty sure the fourth month, like, starts, they always have a little twist. Like, you're like, oh, I'm just going to go explore the monastery. And it's like, no, not exactly. We're going to have a twist. Like, they don't let that get stale.
That's good.
Nothing in the game gets stale from when I'm playing it. They notice when things could be, and they change something.
Right, because you don't want to get in the routine of just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again.
And I mean, the routine is usually first Sunday of the month, explore, talk to people, see what's going on. And I guess people, if you don't care about the characters, it's going to be super boring to you and you're going to hate it.
Right.
I didn't. I looked forward to every time that first of the month rolled around and I could talk to all the people and see what's going on and better my relationships with people, feed them food, fish, garden, manage my inventory, do all that stuff.
It's the thing that surprised me the most that I didn't expect, because when I have played previous Fire Emblem games, you kind of get into the cadence of battle, next chapter battle, do some story stuff in between, but really it's just a really high cadence of battles. And I think I've had 3 battles so far in like 6-7 hours, and it's just surprising that main thing about Fire Emblem has not been sidelined, but like is pushed off a bit. And it's still fantastic. Like the thing you come to Fire Emblem for, other than like finding your waifu, is kind of backgrounded a bit at the beginning, and it's still
at the beginning compelling. It is, and then I would say for the people that really want to battle, because there were times when I'm like, oh, I just want to battle for a bit. So I'd find it would be the Sunday of the month where I felt like I don't want to explore, I don't need to rest, I don't want to do seminar. I'm just going to battle. But the thing is, once you go into the battle normally, you have time management there. And I think at the beginning you can do one battle with a time socket next to it.
Yeah.
Eventually you can get up to 2, which I have. So you can do 2 of those time sockets. But there's always an option for an untimed one that doesn't detract. So you can just grind that. If you just want to battle, you can just grind those. And then nice. You eventually start getting paralogs.
Right.
That can only happen. You have to finish before certain dates, like do them. And then you start getting things about like rare monsters spawning and rare missions. And so you can only do on specific dates.
Right.
So it starts adding, the battle stuff comes in more and more as the game goes on, and you start getting this much more even split of about a third of the time exploring, a third of the time battling, and a third of the time interpersonal relationships.
Did you ever rest on a Sunday?
Yeah, once.
Actually
I rested a couple times. I can't tell you one thing it does because you haven't got to the story point. But it increases the motivation of all your students.
Oh, good. Okay.
It gives them all 50 motivation.
Nice.
But towards the end of the game, you'll have enough. Once you get to, I think it's B or B plus on your professor level. Mm-hmm. You have enough time during your explorations where you can just feed everybody to max their reputations. Like you can just pair everybody for meal times.
Yeah.
And just max reputation. Motivations that way. And also work on supports at the same time.
So you don't need to rest to do that.
No. But rest is still useful for another thing.
For the thing that I don't know about yet.
That you don't know about. Maybe you do know. Maybe you've been spoiled. But,
no, I haven't. I don't know about it.
But rest is good for another thing that you need to balance.
Yeah. So I read that rest gives you X and motivation, but I didn't know what X was, and I didn't go looking, obviously. I just was going around looking for tips. People, like, there are a few tips that people were saying, like, try to recruit as many people as you can. The more people you recruit, the fewer people you are facing, I guess, or whatever. They're not an enemy if they're on your team. But then it was saying something about Catherine. Make sure you get Catherine on your team. And I don't even know who that is yet, but
she's one of the ones that cannot be on your team, depending on your if you're the Black Eagles, if you make a certain choice.
Interesting.
So I never recruited her.
Yeah.
I did see that's the thing. I didn't recruit much of anybody. I recruited a couple people.
And you were still fine.
Right. But yeah. Oh yeah. I would recommend recruiting some people though. Now that I know that it's there, I'm like, oh, and I wouldn't recruit everybody though. I don't care about fighting them in battle. Like that. I guess if you're trying to completely min-max things, you should.
That's what it looked like. Yeah.
And I don't care to like playing this without the internet, without me knowing how to min-max was amazing.
I should focus on that because I keep wanting to like not fuck it up, you know.
There's no fucking it up. I'm sure I fucked it up totally in my playthrough, but I still beat it and had a blast.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
On normal, you shouldn't have a problem.
Right.
I'm pretty sure hard, and even hard so far, it's less about who you recruit, as far as I can tell, or anything. And hard is just going to be, you really need to focus on spreading your experience around. Making sure your team is all fairly equal level, and then somewhat optimize your gear and your stats. Like, you can't just haphazardly throw stuff together. Right. I need to make the spreadsheet on hard to make sure that I progress through my classes as I want to, so I can be strong enough at the end of the game.
Right. That makes sense.
But it doesn't seem like most missions you can only have, like the most I ever saw in a mission was 12. And your class has 9.
Yeah. So,
and most missions actually float around 10. 10 usually is where the max for most missions. You get a later, once your professor level gets high enough, you can adjunct students.
Like they can teach for you?
They use the term, I think, wrong. But basically you can select units that you're not putting in the battle.
Yeah.
To be as adjuncts to you and like one other person or other professors if you recruit them.
Yeah.
And they will get experience as that character does stuff in the battle. And sometimes help like get a random effect. Like they will also attack that person when you attacked. So that you can keep units that you don't want in this battle, but you still want to give them experience. And progression. Again, another little thing that drops, I think that's it. Professor level B, I believe, was that one showed up. Maybe C+. So yeah, the game is ridiculous, but you shouldn't, I think that I could totally see there being an issue of like, oh, I'm going to do this wrong.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel by reading what people are, just in general, the comments, like trying to min-max, but I think you're right that they're trying to min-max for a higher difficulty level.
And supposedly they're going to put an insane difficulty in here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you're going to probably want to min-max completely.
But I don't need to do that now. So.
And I don't have an interest. I don't think that's the difficulty I want. I probably should have played on hard to begin with.
Yeah.
Because I'm having more fun with the battles on hard.
Right, because you have to actually be more strategic, right?
Yes.
It's.
I'm not losing. I haven't even come close to losing, but I realize I'm like, hard says for experienced players. I took it as, well, I'm not experienced with Fire Emblem, but I'm very experienced with tactics games.
Right.
Which was enough. Like, I understand what I'm doing, and I understand the balance that I should be doing as an experienced tactics player, and these missions are a lot of fun that way. So, I will say even on normal though, it ramps in difficulty. There are definitely some missions that you're like, oh, okay. I really have to be thinking through this mission.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of how Fates was for me, the one that came out in 2015 or so, or going along, not too difficult, not too easy, and then the last 3 or 4 was just like ass kicking.
Yeah, I didn't have any that are ass kicking, but I definitely had ones that were like, okay, I can't rest on my laurels here. I really actually have to be paying attention, and I need to be very deliberate with what I'm doing with my units. There's one, probably 7th or 8th month, maybe later, actually probably a little bit later. There's always a mission that I remember that had a time limit. Like the first one that introduced a time limit was like, oh, beat this in 25 turns. And I was like, oh wait, and it has like multiple lanes basically. Cause you start getting to maps where you're like, oh, I need to send a small group off to this other side cause there's other things to do on this map that are optional, but you probably want to do them anyway. And it really starts pressing on that, like, okay, I can't just like when a game forces me to be very offensive, it makes it actually somewhat harder. Like, I have to be very picky and choosy how I'm doing this. And still a blast. God, those missions were fun.
Well, especially when you've got to split your forces where you're trying to think, okay, I need to have, like a lance and a bow and a healer or whatever.
Pretty much you always want a healer to go with any party.
Yeah.
I think there is definitely a part of me that if I hadn't had that complete internet separation, I would have fallen into trying to find the best things ever.
Yep.
But I'm now completely broken on that. Like,
that's good.
Because I don't need to. I beat it. It's cool.
Right.
I understand how the game works. It doesn't explain everything to you all the time. Like, I didn't completely understand how I gained experience in my class. It just happened. I mastered classes sometimes. I'm like, I don't know how I'm getting this. And it took me a while, and nothing explains it to you. Like, there is no tutorial. There's nothing that explains how you actually get the experience of class. It's whenever you select the class, it will show you the icons of the skills that class is related to with a number next to it. Anytime you do an action that matches one of those skills, you get that many points of experience. And I was like, oh, okay. So if it's a sword class, it says sword 2. Every time I attack somebody with a sword, I'll get 2 experience towards my class. Okay. Once I understood that, great. I would say don't get obsessed with trying to return all lost items.
I feel like there's so many.
There are a ton, and I seriously had like pages of them by the end. But they really only matter for if you're trying to specifically increase motivation of your students or recruit up your support for non-house students that you're trying to recruit.
And that's where I'm at. There's Dorothea. Is she in
Dorothea rules.
Well, I'm trying to recruit her.
She was my waifu.
Oh, nice. Like when I looked at you go through at the beginning and you like talk to each head and you learn about all the people.
Yep.
I liked her background, but also that's my grandma's name. So I'm like, I gotta get that person. But then I researched more about her and she's fucking awesome. So I need to get her. Awesome. I need to get her.
So there's either way. I mean, you can give them lost items. You can gift them things that they like because you'll get gifts that you can give. And, you can also garden and get flowers, and flowers work as gifts, and you can spam them with flowers and gifts. And all you have to do is get them to support B. And that's when they're not going to tell you if they're at support B. You just start throwing things at them. And eventually,
I thought you also had to have like the thing that they want.
No. You can either have the thing that they want.
Okay.
Or you get them to support B.
Nice. Okay.
If you get them to support B, then on the calendar day, as the calendar is progressing, they will say, "Hey, can I talk to you? I want to join your house."
Awesome. Okay.
And if you're playing a woman in the game, Sylvain, asshole.
He wants you no matter what.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He will literally within the first few weeks say, "Can I join your house?" If you're a female professor.
Oh God.
See, he's an asshole. God, the blue lions are assholes.
Yeah, I don't need to recruit him because I already have him.
Yeah, enjoy that.
Yeah, no, it's what I wanted to do, honestly, other than that throwaway line from Dimitri and the fact that they're blue. I wanted to choose the house that I would not choose because ideally I wanted to do Black Eagles. And I was like, I always would choose the Black Eagles, so I'll choose something else. And I was between them and the yellow. I'm like, I feel like a lot of people are choosing the yellow on the forums. People were talking about choosing the yellow because they like the head. And I was like, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do blue. We'll see how that works out. But for me, a couple of things. Usually when I play video games, I think we talked about this before. If I have a choice between a female and a male protagonist, I'll almost always choose a female. I could not do it for this game. Really? And it's the same reason why I think I put this game down. It's not escape for me. It's not a game like video games like I go to kind of get to relax and to do something different than I normally do or whatever. I am a professor in real life. I lesson plan in real life. I interact with students in real life. So playing this game, I couldn't do it as a female because it felt weird. I couldn't.
That's really funny.
I had to do it as a male, which I never do. And then I think that was a problem for me because I'm having a hard time separating me from the character. Like I feel skeevy talking to my students in the ways that sometimes you end up talking to the students in this game. I think you can romance your students, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that feels very weird to me. And it's
I guess none of the romance starts then.
Yeah. But it's eventually going to get there. Even just being like super chummy. Like,
and it's the 5 years after. That's whenever.
Yeah, right.
And all the it's not. This place is pretty lax on their professor-student relationship stuff. Talk to the other professors, and you'll totally see it too.
Right, exactly. So this is the thing. It's just been slightly weird to me. So that's part of the reason why I was kind of like having a weird. I put 6 hours into it. I fucking loved it, but I'm like, something's not quite clicking. Maybe I should have done a female, so I could actually have some sort of separation. But then it just happened a couple of days in a row where my wife was doing something or whatever, the TV was free. And I was like, usually if the TV's free and I'm like not dead tired, I will play on my PS4 because then I don't get to play my PS4 that much right now. So I decided I wanted to get back into ACO, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And I just plowed through the Hidden Blade 2 and 3 and just, I probably played like 5 hours of it. So I kind of bounced from Fire Emblem because I jumped back into Odyssey, and that's the other thing that kind of made me put it down. So I need to get back to it. But it's really just I'm right now preparing for classes. I'm preparing lessons. I'm getting ready for my students. I'm like, I can't also do this in a game right now, which is just.
It's a much more abstract way of doing it in the game. But
you're
still planning in a weird way.
Right.
It's like if your students had like checklists of skills that you're trying to increase the progress bars under.
Yeah, which I am. I don't have physical progress bars, but that's what we do. So the blurring of like my work life and my gaming life was just a little too much for this moment because I'm getting ready for the semester. So I let myself dive into Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And then I actually also picked back up Mario Maker 2 because I found out I was looking at a couple lists online about like people you should follow. And there are like quite a few game designers who have Mario Maker 2 accounts and have made up.
That doesn't surprise me.
So fucking Matt Thorsten, the guy who did Celeste, right? Matt Makes Games, did a fucking Mario level that is just kicking my ass. And it's basically if Celeste were with Mario sprites. And it's just like so great and so fucking hard. I spent like an hour of my daughter's nap day before, trying to beat this one level. And my wife was like, why? Why? Like, I would stop after the first time I couldn't do it. I was like, no, I got to do it. I just did it like 200 times in a row. And I'm just like really having fun exploring a lot of the Mario Maker 2 levels. So
yeah, you're like, let me tell you about a game called Celeste and how many times I died in specific parts.
It counted. I had like 1,700 deaths or whatever.
Yeah, so. And you're like, so yeah, that's part of this.
But the shit that he's doing in Mario Maker 2 is just like turning like items on their head. Like you wouldn't even think to do it. And he's done it. So it has to be like pixel perfect move. It's good. But I spent an hour and I only got halfway through a 20-second level. So, so yeah, those are the two things that I've been playing. Man, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I don't know if it's 'cause I have a kid or what, but like when spoilers for the Hidden Blade DLC, but like when the kid gets taken away, I like was so fucking angry. I couldn't stop playing. I had to get the kid back.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think there's a certain amount of being a parent there that triggers into that. And then the voice actress for Cassandra sold it so well. Oh, the righteous fury out of her, like for the rest of that DLC was insane.
She is so good. So good. I keep thinking as I'm playing through it, what would it be like if I were playing Alexios? If you're playing as Alexios, does Darius have a daughter instead of a son?
He probably does.
Yeah.
I would assume.
That whole thing about like getting pregnant or whatever, it was so weird.
It was weird.
I didn't realize it was happening until it happened. I was like, wait, what? I'm having a kid? What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, that part was a little bit odd to the whole thing. I mean, I get from what they've believed for their lore, it has to happen. But
yeah, of course.
Also, it's that video game, it's their lore. If they didn't, they could have just made up shit and said, you don't have to have a kid. It doesn't matter. We can... Genetic line can be weird and whatnot. Maybe we're playing Cassandra. It's Alexios who has a kid. Right. The whole thing. And that's how the lore works. If you decide you're like, nope, don't want this. I mean, I get it. It ruined the whole DLC. At that point.
It was so weird, but it was cool. The scene where basically Alexios goes with Darius and then it shows like his kids and the generations going on. Yeah. And then it ends with Aya from Assassin's Creed Origins, which I was just like, fuck yeah. I mean, obviously they're related, but just like to see her in Odyssey, which is like, fuck yeah. She's such a great character.
You get to see all the connections. Yeah, no, so I really enjoyed that a lot.
Oh, it was stellar. I really, really, really liked it. I really liked the guy, too. It's this fucking stupid throwaway side quest throughout the Hidden Blade where it's the guy. You're doing things to help, and he keeps trying to give you presents, and finally...
He's like, stop helping me. I owe you things if you help me.
Oh, man, he's so great.
There's a lot of just hilarious throwaway stuff in there like that.
Yeah. It's like Testicles.
Uh-huh.
In the main storyline. Fuck, the game just keeps giving. It's so fucking good.
I think it's done now, though. I'm still partway through Atlantis DLC, the second part. And I know the third part came out right before I left.
It did, yeah.
I need to finish that. But the Atlantis DLC is big. That's the thing. It's really... Each part is big. And so it's kind of feels like a big task to work through each part. Right. It's good, but it's a lot of game.
I would like to before the end of the year because I want to consider each DLC as Game of the Year material. Kind of like Witcher, Blood and Wine. I'm not sure if they will hold up, but I mean, because there's so many fucking great games this year. I mean, Fire Emblem, obviously. Mario Maker 2, I think, is phenomenal. I don't even know all the stuff coming out in the fall. Like, I've kind of, in the last month, like all of July.
Link's Awakening?
Link's Awakening, right?
Is the next thing I'm prepped for.
Yeah, I bought those vouchers, man. I fucking finagled the system, used that Raise app to get like $40. Basically, it ends up being the new games are $40 each. So Fire Emblem was 40, Link's Awakening will be 40, and then I'm going to use two other ones one on Dragon what the fuck's it called? Dragon Quest 11?
Yeah, Dragon Quest 11 is going to be out this fall.
Yep, a week after Link's Awakening, or a week before even.
Shit.
One of the two. So
I don't have time or money for all these games.
Yes, correct. And then I'll save the last one for something. I don't know what.
And I mean, if Fire Emblem, if I finish it again, that's a big if. I don't know if I'd play. We'll see if I get through a whole nother playthrough. But eventually it's going to burn itself out. We'll see how long it takes before I decide I want to move to something else. Because
we'll see if in 3 months you're still talking about Fire Emblem.
I don't know. I could be. Definitely on hard, it's pushing me into that feeling of how I felt when I play Final Fantasy Tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the game reminds me story-wise of Final Fantasy Tactics a lot. It's a very mature story.
Yeah.
You're only scratching the surface 6 hours in. But you already get the hints of, like, it's dealing with big issues. Like there's the three nation, like the politics and an intrigue between these three nations, but how the church plays into that. How the church manipulates that. The commoner and noble piece to it, which also ties into the crests, so like magic and non-magical users, people, actually. And this all pretty much carries through the entire game of, like, all these pretty heavy themes.
That definitely gets way deeper than I think has happened in previous Fire Emblem games. So that's really cool.
I mean, I don't have a ton of experience. Like I said, I played Awakenings for like 4 or 5 missions.
Right.
And I think that was my issue with Awakening, was just battle after battle after battle. Like, this one grabs me because I am really getting attached to the characters. And the story like, as soon as I started getting those hints of, like, political intrigue and, like, infighting, and honestly give me the politics of a church and non-church, I'm in when it comes to fantasy.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm feeling like this game how I feel about Final Fantasy Tactics, and that's why I have a spreadsheet and I'm planning my classes, and the hard battles make me feel like super, like, smart tactically. Right. I have to think very well tactically. So, I don't know. I think to me, this is a very special game. Like, very special. Yeah.
Well, the reaction, I don't know if you've subsequently looked on the internet, but the reaction to fans playing the game, like new to the game or new to Fire Emblem or not, are just like universally fucking praising the game. Yeah. Except for the fucking size of the text. Jesus Christ. So small.
I guess so.
It's fucking small.
Is it?
You've been playing handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So imagine that on the screen. But even on the handheld, I have to kind of hold it close to my face. I don't know if I need to fucking wear glasses.
I think you need to wear glasses because I don't have to hold it near my face.
You haven't had any problems with the text?
No, none at all. Wow. It's never been too small for me on handheld.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when I hold it, what's that? That's probably like 1.5 feet, 2 feet from my face.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
I'm not like leaning into the screen. I lean back in a chair and I usually have my hands resting on my desk. holding it. So yeah, no, the text size hasn't bothered me at all. I'm trying to think of the, I've seen that it's generally universally praised, overall. And I did see there was some streamers I got back and while I had been gone, they had streamed it, but they had talked about, and I saw, which streamers, Cone Carnage and ItMeJP, and they do a kind of like a talk show on their streams afterwards, and I was like, oh, I need to see it because they both played it, and I'm curious. And they both were like, yeah, we usually stream other things, but all we streamed for the past week has been Fire Emblem. Like, both of them felt super hard for the game, and they didn't even think they would. And they were just like, I think one of the guys was like, I usually split my games up and do like a morning chunk game and an afternoon game, and then I just told my followers, there's no afternoon game, it's just Fire Emblem. And then it's going to be Fire Emblem tomorrow, and this is going to rinse and repeat until I'm done with this game, because this is awesome, and it's my channel, I'm going to do it. And the other guy was like, he's like, I streamed for 16 hours one day.
Jesus Christ.
With Fire, and he's like, it's only one of the few times in my entire streaming career where I've thought I might be streaming too much. But it was all Fire. Like, they just didn't want to stop playing.
Right.
I guess when you don't have that impact of being a professor, the game's just, you're in. And you're like, give me the next professor. I want to get my students better.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Casey or someone else, and it was basically like, yeah, that sucks. I'm sure there aren't that many people who have that, that Venn diagram of professors who are playing this fucking game. But yeah, it's just weird. It makes me think about other like professions that are like a football. This is stupid, but like a football manager or a baseball manager, and you play like one of those sports sims. Like, do they feel the same thing? Like, is it not an escape for them? Do they avoid those games?
I don't know about the managers. I know players play them.
Yeah, right. That's true.
But they're not the ones managing the stuff, so maybe that's different.
Right.
But I do understand, like, there's very few games, like, well, actually, no. It's like, why don't I play a ton of puzzle games? Because I spend all day solving puzzles, programming. And I don't want to do that in my time off.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. Like, and it's not that I don't want to. Like, I fucking love Fire Emblem. I will play this game. It's just like, in this moment, it just wasn't, I couldn't.
It's hard. Yeah. I understand. It's hard. You're like, this is not taking me out of that mindset that I am in all day. I'm in a fantasy version of that mindset now, where I can sleep with my students, I guess.
Yeah, dude, I don't even want to go there. That's just a little icky for me, but I know it's, a little strange.
It's Fire Emblem. You got to find your waifus and husbandos.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's what it is now, right? And I know
it's what it is.
I know it hasn't always been that, but it is what it is now.
That's been a part of it since Awakening, for sure. Before we get out of here, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our fans who listens to our show and sent a tweet on the 7th of August. Said that the last episode we had with Bill talking about video games basically in real world violence, he said is one of the best episodes we've recorded. Very informative with lots of food for thought, plus loads of games. Keep it up. So Martin, I really appreciate that comment. Thanks for listening, and I will pass that along to my colleague Bill, although he'll probably hear this as well. So we had a really nice discussion about fucking politicians blaming video games for
I know.
Real world violence.
It's like just the same thing that we heard 20 years ago. That's how we got ESRB ratings.
Right.
Because politicians back then just were like, Columbine happened, and they're like, oh, these kids, they played video games. No shit. Like, most teenagers 20 years ago played video games, let's be honest. We were teenagers 20 years ago, and pretty much everyone I knew played video games.
Right, and none of us are shooting anyone up.
And it's not, like, even in our social, but even outside of our social group. Like, video games were just a constant of our generation. I don't know. I'm just like, hopefully it will just blow over and we'll move on. We've also there's been tons of research and studies being done in the past 20 years to show that that's not the case. Like, video games don't cause people to go and shoot people. Like,
right.
That's just not something that they do. There's so much evidence against it now.
That's just the low-hanging fruit, right?
It is low-hanging fruit. I mean, before video games, in the 80s, you had D&D. You always want to find something that is the culprit, the blame, something easy, something that is you can just easily point to, because it's easy and it's not a complicated talking point. But no, we'll blame that instead of the myriad of other reasons that this stuff might be happening. Because they're politicians and that's all they care about. And it's funny now, because now it's the Republican Party doing it. Back 20 years ago was the Democratic Party.
Right.
Was the party that was all anti-video games. Goddamn Lieberman.
For many fucking reasons.
Many reasons, but that's how I first ever knew of him.
Yeah.
He was the anti-video game politician.
Right, and then he ended up being the guy that had to get Obamacare watered down for him to vote for it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where we are now.
Yeah, so that guy hasn't been helpful. I don't know. On my Twitter feed, shockingly, Penny Arcade has been around long enough. They had a comic from 20 years ago.
Oh, my God.
About, the comic is the first panel, a kid walks into, I think it's a Walmart, actually. Or is this the store? And is like, I want to buy, God, what was it? Some first-person shooter, violent game, back in the day, Quake or something like that.
Yeah.
And a shotgun. And the second panel is like, sorry, can't sell you that video game. Let's talk about that shotgun. Are you shooting ducks or people?
Oh my God.
That was the third panel. I'm like, we're back. And it's a funny Penny Arcade, 20 years. And they had a comic from 99.
And we're still there. I can't believe Penny Arcade's been around that long, but of course they have.
They've been around that long, and they've talked about it, and it's because I'm sure in the past week, I don't know if that was whenever you talked about it last week at all, if the Walmart stuff had come out.
No, it
happened yet. It's all that. What were they doing? They're taking down signage.
They're taking down ads for violent video games.
Video games but I mean, you can still buy your guns there. It's cool.
Right. They didn't take away the signs
in some states. That's true.
Correct.
I don't think you can do it here in Washington. Although I went to a Walmart in Wyoming.
To buy yourself a gun.
Exactly. But it was weird to actually see that there's like a big section next to the camping area that was all like, here's the gun racks. It's like, that's weird. Is this necessary? Really?
Yeah, we've got a reckoning we got to deal with in this country. And it's not based on the video games. No. I mean, I don't really like first person shooters anymore, but in college played them a ton and wasn't aggressive with anyone.
Well, no, it's not even and they don't even really train you to use a gun.
No, not unless I press F5 to buy my guns.
It's a really weird thing to associate shooting in a game on a screen with like a mouse or a controller would actually give you the skills to shoot in real life.
Right.
And then it's now been shown that like seeing violence in video games, like there's we are desensitized to violence in like movies and games and stuff like that. But the study has shown that desensitization doesn't translate to seeing that stuff, violence in real life.
Right.
Like there's a difference between whenever you separate out, once it not becomes fantasy anymore and you see that like level of violence in the real world with your own eyes and senses, right, that you're like, oh shit. Like, well, it's different.
Right. We're not experiencing PTSD from playing Call of Duty for 20 years.
No.
We're experiencing PTSD for our men and women who have served in the military over and over and over again. Yeah. Like having those real world experiences. Like it's just fucking scapegoating. It's just sick.
It is. And it's sad.
And sad too. Yeah.
And it probably won't go anywhere. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Although I mean, 8chan got closed down, so that's cool.
So the Cloudflare?
Cloudflare. I mean, 2 years late, but they did it.
But they're the ones that provide
hosting.
I thought it was. I didn't think it was hosting. Was it hosting?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was protection. I thought it was protection against like hacks and DDoSs and whatever.
But I mean, yeah, it's the host.
Okay.
So they just killed them on that. But I'm sure they'll find other places.
Yeah, of course.
Like one of the weird places where I'm like realized that people could go now is Discord.
Yeah.
Because you can just make a Discord server.
Yep.
Invite whoever you want and they can be there. It's not public, really. You have to be invited to go to it.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Discord doesn't track what's talked about in people's forums and their servers. Like,
right, because you kind of just leave it without a trace. As opposed
kind of. I've actually been wondering, I'm like, how much is there a dark side to Discord? As I've been using it a lot for work. And I even have my own server where I just use as a link repository. Right. I'm like, oh, I want to go visit this later. So I just paste something in here.
Right.
And I'm like, there could be a lot out there, and there's nothing on there, as far as I can tell, that they do anything censoring or care.
Right. It'd be hard to in real time.
Yeah.
Too. So.
I don't know. But God.
Tough times. Really sad. Really sad times too.
Yeah. No, it's really terrible. It was kind of a sad thing to learn about. I learned about it on the day I was coming home. So it was in the hotel the morning. We stayed in a hotel the night before we came home, finally. It was in the breakfast in the morning. I saw the news ticker going like, oh, this happened a couple days ago. I was like, what? And I was like, of course, because it was 2 shootings within the same day,
14 hours.
Yeah.
Well, because the second one was like at 1:30 in the morning. So
the
next morning.
Welcome to America.
It's just unreal. Scary. Fucking scary.
I don't know.
Anything else about Fire Emblem?
Yeah, with that, I'm going to play a crap ton more tonight, I think. I don't know. It's an amazing game. I am so impressed with how much is packed into this one game.
Yeah.
And it actually, weirdly, as a developer, makes me worried that they're not going to ever be able to hit this level again. Like, this seems like a crescendo of a game.
And if it is, like, it's so nice that we have it. Like, such a great game. So
I'm just like, awesome. Wow, maybe you guys should wait a long time before doing another one. Like, it's cool. Don't try to fast follow this. Just clearly they took a lot of time on this game.
Yeah.
Because was it people didn't like Fates all that much?
People didn't like the storyline in Fates. They didn't like the fact that there were 3 different things pieced out over 3 different games. Yeah. This
is the 3 different things all in the same game.
Right.
Basically. And the story is really good in this game. So, yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what the future will hold for this franchise. I know that there's DLC going to be incoming for it anyway. So.
Yeah. I think there's 3 pieces to it, too, so I'm really interested to see what that is.
How that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. But I'm glad there's going to be support for it, because once I get into it, I'm going to want more. And there's already just so much in the fucking game, so.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, I got a code for Steam for a game called Immortal Redneck, which is scary. Just in general, having grown up around a lot of rednecks. If any of them were immortal, that would be very scary. K839K DTELRE0VLY. In terms of the physical goodies we have for the iTunes reviews, I think Anthony and I will talk about this week and give out that stuff next week, because we have not touched base yet, so we will do that soon.
Sounds good there.
Excellent.
Pretty sure Immortal Redneck is an oxymoron.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, skin cancer from all the sun on the neck there. All right. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm good.
All right, man. Thanks for coming back, Anthony. Thanks, everyone, for sticking with us through those 2 weeks where he was gone. Thanks for all my friends who came in and talked with us. And we will see you next week for episode 205.
All right. Later, everyone.